right now. So we're in, today we'll be covering Canto 1, Chapter 11, text number 18. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, text 18. Varanendram puraskritya brahmanai sashumangalai shankaturya ninadena brahmagoshena chadrita pratyujagmuratar hrishta pranaya gata sadvasa. I'll read the word by word. Varana Indram, elephants on the auspicious mission. Puraskritya, putting in the front. Brahmanai, by the Brahmanas. Sasumangalai, with all auspicious signs. Shanka, conch shell. Turya, bugle. Ninadena, by the sound of. Brahmagoshena, by chanting the hymns of the Vedas. Cha, and. Adrita, glorified. Prati, towards. Ujagmu, proceeded hurriedly. Ratai, on the chariots. Hrishta, in cheerfulness. Pranayagata, saturated with affection. Sadvasa, all respectful. Translation. They hastened toward the Lord on chariots with brahmanas bearing flowers. Before them were elephants, emblems of good fortune. Conch shells and bugles were sounded and Vedic hymns were chanted. Thus, they offered their respects, which were saturated with affection. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Vedic way of receiving a great personality creates an atmosphere of respect, which is saturated with affection and veneration for the person received. The auspicious atmosphere of such a reception depends on the paraphernalia described above, including conch shells, flowers, incense, decorated elephants, and the qualified brahmanas reciting verses from the Vedic literatures. Such a program of reception is full of sincerity on the part of both the receiver and the received. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, just to revisit the context briefly, Lord Krishna has departed from Hastinapur and he's returning to Dwarka. And in the last verse, the two verses just that were covered yesterday, I'll just read it. On hearing that, this is text 16 and 17, on hearing that the most dear Krishna was approaching Dwarka Dham, magnanimous Vasudev, Akrura, Ugrasena, Balaram, the superhumanly powerful, Pradyumna, Charudeshna, and Samba, the son of Jambavati, all extremely happy, abandoned resting, sitting, and dining. And the verse that we read today was describing how all of these great personalities, they abandoned everything, all activities that they were performing at the time, and they came to receive Lord Krishna as he was entering Dwarka. And so not much to be said on this verse, but just a couple points that stood out. Prabhupada makes a point to highlight how this form of reception that these great personalities were exhibiting towards Krishna, it was full of both respect and affection. And these words in the highlighted point in the verse pranayagata is saturated with affection, and sadvasha is all respectful. So this is the description of the way in which these great devotees of Krishna were receiving him as he was coming back to Dwarka. So just to break down these two different aspects of the reception that Krishna was receiving, Prabhupada explains how there are so many pieces of paraphernalia, you could say external kind of factors that signify respect. And so he highlights how these aspects include the paraphernalia such as conch shells, flowers, incense, decorated elephants, and the qualified brahmanas reciting verses from the Vedic literatures. Actually, I'm just now remembering, for any of you who have been to Mayapur, I can't remember if they do it every day, maybe, or maybe on certain days. The Gurukul boys, they have a huge procession where they take the deities, I think the Utsav deities, out of the temple, and they do a procession around the Mayapur like complex, and they literally have elephants, and the boys get up on elephants, and they have the deities there, and they're fanning the deities, and they have conch shells and kirtan, and it's like a very grand procession that they do in the Mayapur complex. So obviously this reception of Krishna coming back to Dwarka must have been even on, a much higher level even than that, but that's something that we can envision as far as, trying to envision what this would look like. So these aspects, these paraphernalia in themselves signify respect, but there's another important component that we're hearing about when we're reading about this reception that these great devotees are giving Krishna. So there's the aspect of respect, but there's also the, what I would consider the more important aspect of affection, this pranayagata. And this reception wasn't simply a show. These residents of Dwarka, they have deep attachment and affection for Krishna. And Prabhupada explains how such a program of reception is full of sincerity on the part of both the receiver, which is Krishna in this instance, and the received. So in this way, the reception was full of love. So it wasn't just just a show. And I'm kind of just reminded of, in any country, you could say, the political leaders, no matter who the political leader is, there will always be some group of people that doesn't agree with them in some way or the other. They don't like them. And so, but the political leader travels to many different parts of the country to, maybe push their message. And no matter where the leader goes, he is received with respect. That's definitely there. I guess in America, maybe now, not so much, but so many, for the most part, so long as there's a culture of dignity and honor, we all understand that political leaders are to be given some type of respect, and they are given that respect when they go to different areas, even though the people may not like them. Especially you'll see that in regions where it's more of like a dictatorship. The people feel completely ruled by this person who they do not like, and yet they still give the utmost respect. But that respect is completely devoid of any affection, this pranayagata. So, juxtaposed against that, all of the residents of Dwarka had the utmost level of respect and also the utmost level of affection for Krishna as he was returning to Dwarka. So I guess just as far as a takeaway point, the only thing that I would want to highlight from this verse is that even when we, when we receive devotees in our lives, it's one thing to show them respect externally, but what I would consider to be the more important aspect is to really feel affection towards them as a devotee of Krishna. And I think this is the real point as far as when we talk about devotee care and devotee etiquette. It's, of course, it's very nice to show an external reverence, but without the internal mood of gratitude and honor that a devotee deserves, then there may not be much benefit, and there may not be that mutual feeling of love. So I think that's really all I wanted to highlight from this verse. I apologize, it's very short, but if anybody would like to add anything, any comments or any questions from this verse, that would be great.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you for the short and sweet, talk on the verse. A couple of things come to my mind. One is a similar instance when Sri Ramachandra returns back from, the exile after winning the war, and how the Ayodhya Vasis receive him with so much affection. It's probably comparable to, what is happening here in Dwarka now. Then the other one that comes to my mind is, you see all these videos of Prabhupada arriving at the airport and other places. That keeps coming to my mind as you were talking about this, like how jubilantly the devotees, were receiving him. So probably you can talk a few words about those instances. It'll be so wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing up both of those examples. I'm extremely unfamiliar with the Ram Leela, so I didn't really want to comment on it because I don't know the details. But of course, we all know of the reception that Lord Ram receives when he comes back to Ayodhya. So yeah, that's definitely a very relevant, I'm sure it would be a very comparable type of reception. And also you were mentioning about Prabhupada, how he would be received when he would come to different places. I've definitely heard of course, we've seen videos and pictures of all the devotees receiving Prabhupada. And I've also heard stories where even people who had never, like, they were brand new to the devotee culture, to the point where they didn't even understand, like, they didn't understand what it means to offer obeisances. They didn't understand what it means to offer, what is a guru, what is the level of respect that is called for there. And yet they would spontaneously, just by seeing Prabhupada, appear before them, they would literally spontaneously offer obeisances, which is just like really wild to me, because that doesn't happen anywhere else. You don't see any other person in your life where you suddenly feel like getting down on the ground, putting your head on the ground, especially in American culture, very unheard of. So yeah, definitely. And of course, that spontaneous show of affection towards Prabhupada was inspired by his nature. So yeah, thank you for bringing up those examples. Anyone would like to add anything else?
Hare Krishna, please, Mukunda, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. I just wanted to add about Srila Prabhupada being received. The other day I was watching this video first time. I happened to, see that while I was chanting along with Prabhupada, and there was he was arriving in a motorcade at it must have been I don't know if it was Bhakti Vedanta manor or some such a great place, and there were all these cars coming and stopping, and suddenly a couple of devotees sort of jumped ahead to Prabhupada, and I was wondering why they are running so this thing, and then by the time Srila Prabhupada is escorted and arriving into the building, there is a rain of flowers from, they want to arrange that one. That's why there are flower petals, they are raining flower petals. It was so, heart touching, and I thought Srila Prabhupada, whatever they showed, he showed them, they accepted and said they nicely followed the guidelines about how to worship the Guru and how to arrange the Vyasas, and of course Srila Prabhupada was offering obeisances along with them to the deities and all that, but it's very so wonderful that all these disciples showed so much respect deserved by the spiritual master and Krishna, and how they word by word they accepted and demonstrated that one. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Mataji.
Mm.
Yeah. I also, just as one thought, is that one of the most inspiring things about many disciples of Srila Prabhupada, pretty much every disciple of Srila Prabhupada that I've ever heard of or met, the level of respect that they have for him is one of the most important lessons that we can receive from them about how to respect our spiritual masters as well. So yeah, thank you.
And one more thing, if I just remembered, came to my mind, that when the devotees followed Srila Prabhupada, the Western devotees followed Srila Prabhupada, and they were not allowed to enter Jagannath temple to have darshan. And regarding that, Satsarup Das Maharaj is saying in one of his lectures, we were not the least ruffled by that. We just know that all the holy places reside at the Guru's lotus feet. We were satisfied. So that when I heard that one, I was really so touched too. That is the perfect understanding of the Guru by the disciples, and acceptance of whatever comes there, where they are not disturbed. So I was very touched by that too. Thank you very much for allowing me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any final thoughts? Otherwise, we can stop there.
I have one more. If nobody else is, going to speak, then what I remember is in Lilamrita, Prabhupada and his disciples are trying to propagate and establish ISKCON. At that point of time, a concert is arranged. I forget the place, probably somewhere in LA. And, it's a huge rock concert. The environment in that sort of places is totally different. It's almost demonic, but Prabhupada goes on to the, onto the podium, and the entire audience becomes silent, and everyone around Prabhupada is praying, "Oh, Prabhupada, let's hope nothing gets messed up," and, it can become pretty dangerous pretty quick. So everyone was so much afraid, but Prabhupada comes and, he speaks a few words, and then they start a kirtan, and it becomes so ecstatic, even demonic, I shouldn't say that, but yeah, even people who are on the side of demonic values, they were so eager to receive Prabhupada, and that comes to my mind again, as you're discussing this topic. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, nice example. I think you can confidently say it's a demonic environment, but Prabhupada, his influence was able to cut through. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This is Sachisruta Das.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
From your class, that one thing that comes to my mind is unity in diversity in ISKCON, especially Prabhupada has instilled the ability to the like-mindedness, right? So if you see some of our experience that we can narrate is when you see devotees, whether they are from Ukraine or you know them, or even from beyond the bodily discrimination, when we see some devotees, there is a natural affection that comes. They are Krishna's servant. That is something which is not being trained. It is really by the mercy that we get that sort of that is being stimulated naturally in our mind. And we, whether you know the language, whether you know to speak, but somehow or other you try to, when you meet some devotees, like you provide opportunity, you just go and try to really talk to them and do something for them. That sort of a sense is naturally, that respect that automatically comes from your mind. I had experience like when visiting Srirangam temple, like a group of Russian devotees, like they came all the way from there, and one devotee, like he was serving them. It's a chartered group, and he was serving them. It's a pre-arrangement. But somehow when we were going in the streets of Srirangam with a Vaishnava attire, through ISKCON attire, like, we didn't know any, it would be honest at the time, we didn't know there is a ISKCON resides in Srirangam.
Yeah.
So a devotee who just came in a cycle, and then he stopped, and then he spent almost 3 hours. And he said, "Oh, that is nice that you are here, and like we don't know each other." And he spent 3 hours in doing the parikrama of Srirangam temple. So what sort of like a commitment, or what is that? It's the like-mindedness, or to serve something, a natural respect. When we see a Vaishnava, or when you see a devotee who is chanting, that is spontaneously coming. That is such a great thing in unity and diversity that Srila Prabhupada has established in ISKCON, and we are doing it. That's a good thing that, and I want to talk about that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I was also trying to find, there was a verse in this chapter earlier on, but there's a few different places in the Bhagavatam where you read about how Krishna is arriving, like in Dwaraka, for example, or also when he arrives in Mathura, when he arrives at the wrestling ring, and there are other places as well. Different devotees of Krishna have different types of relationships with him, and they all receive him in different ways according to their relationships. And so even with devotees, we can say it works the same way. We may all have a different relationship with a particular devotee, but we all receive him according to our relationship. And I just think of that when you also mentioned unity and diversity, how we all we all have personal relationships with devotees on different levels, and it's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Unless anyone has anything else, I think we can stop there. Okay. Thank you all so much. Sorry, I feel like I had a very short sharing, but I hope that it was something was able